When I discovered my wife was unfaithful, I sold my house to my brother for $1 and donated every penny I had to our family trust. When I handed her the divorce papers, she yelled, "I'll take half of everything." I nodded calmly, and when she saw the settlement was just $1, she got mad. I never thought I'd be writing this, but here we are. 3 months ago, my world imploded in the most spectacular way possible, and I'm still processing what happened. This isn't just about catching a cheating spouse. It's about how sometimes the best revenge is served ice cold and completely legal. My wife and I had been married for 8 years. We met in college, built what I thought was a solid life together, and I genuinely believed we were happy. I worked in tech consulting, she was a marketing manager, and between us we'd accumulated a decent amount of wealth. We owned a beautiful house in the suburbs worth about $800,000, had substantial savings, and I'd recently inherited a significant sum from my grandmother that we'd put into various investments. The first red flag should have been when she started working late more frequently. Classic, right? But I trusted her completely. She'd always been ambitious, and her company was going through a merger, so the extra hours seemed legitimate. I was traveling for work anyway, so our schedules just felt naturally misaligned. Then came the phone call she'd taken private, the sudden interest in going to the gym, and the new wardrobe. When I complimented her on looking great, she'd brush it off or change the subject. I started feeling like a stranger in my own marriage. The discovery happened on a Tuesday evening in February. I'd come home early from a business trip. My client meeting got canceled last minute. I pulled into our driveway and saw an unfamiliar car parked there. My first thought was that maybe she was having a friend over, which was weird because she usually told me about social plans. I walked through the front door and heard voices upstairs. Laughing. Intimate laughing. My stomach dropped, but I told myself I was being paranoid. I called out that I was home, and the voices immediately stopped. After a few minutes, she came downstairs looking flustered, hair slightly messed up, claiming her co-worker had stopped by to discuss the merger. The co-worker, a guy I'd never heard her mention before, came down a minute later, looking equally uncomfortable. They both gave me this overly casual explanation about work stuff, but the energy in the room was all wrong. After he left, she was defensive when I asked questions, turning it around on me for being suspicious and controlling. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something felt fundamentally off. I started paying closer attention to her behavior, and the signs became impossible to ignore. She was protecting her phone like it contained state secrets, taking showers immediately after coming home from work, and we hadn't been intimate in over 2 months. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I hired a private investigator. I needed to know for sure before I did anything drastic. The PI was thorough and discreet, and within 2 weeks, I had photographic evidence of my wife meeting this same coworker at hotels during lunch breaks and after work. The photos were clear and damning. But here's where the story gets interesting. Instead of confronting her immediately, I did something else entirely. I called my brother. My brother is a lawyer, 3 years older than me, and we've always been close. When I told him what was happening, he was furious on my behalf, but he also immediately shifted into strategic mode. We spent hours discussing my options, and he helped me understand exactly what a divorce would look like financially. That's when we came up with the plan. See, my wife had always been very focused on money, not in a gold digger way, but she was extremely conscious of our financial status, our investments, our property values. She frequently talked about our assets and had strong opinions about our financial future. She'd even mentioned once, half-jokingly, that if we ever divorced, she'd take me for everything I'm worth. My brother explained that in our state, marital assets are typically split 50-50, but there are ways to protect certain assets if you're strategic about it. We started planning. First, I quietly moved money around. I paid off all our debts, credit cards, car loans, everything. I made large contributions to retirement accounts that would be harder to access. I prepaid a year's worth of utilities and insurance. Basically, I converted liquid assets into things that couldn't easily be divided. Then came the big move. I sold our house to my brother for $1. This sounds crazy, but it was completely legal. My brother and I had discussed this extensively with his legal colleagues. The house was in my name only. I'd bought it before we got married and never added her to the deed. In our state, this meant it was technically my separate property, not marital property. By selling it to my brother for a nominal fee, I was essentially gifting it to family, which I had every legal right to do. The final step was the family trust. I took the remaining liquid assets, about $200,000 in various accounts, and donated them to a family trust that my brother had helped me establish. The trust was set up to benefit my parents, my brother's kids, and various charities. Once the money was in the trust, it was no longer my personal asset. All of this took about 3 weeks to execute. During this time, I acted completely normal at home. I was pleasant, asked about her day, even suggested we plan a vacation for the summer. She had no idea what was coming. On a Friday evening, I finally confronted her. I laid out the photos from the PI on our kitchen table and watched her face go through every emotion possible: shock, denial, anger, tears, and finally, defiance. "It's not what it looks like," she started, but I cut her off. "I know exactly what it looks like," I said calmly. "I know you've been seeing him for at least 2 months. I know you've been lying to me every single day. And I know our marriage is over." She tried to explain, to justify, to blame me for working too much and not paying enough attention to her. I listened without interrupting, then handed her the divorce papers my brother had prepared. "I want you to move out this weekend," I told her. "You can take your personal belongings, but that's it." That's when she exploded. "You can't just kick me out of my house," she screamed. "I have rights. I'll take half of everything you own. The house, the savings, the investments, all of it." I nodded calmly. "You're absolutely right. You're entitled to half of all marital assets." She looked satisfied, like she'd won something. "Damn right I am. The thing is," I continued, "there aren't really any marital assets left to divide." Her face changed. "What do you mean?" I explained everything. The house sale to my brother, the family trust, the debt payments, the strategic financial moves I'd made over the past month. Her face went from confused to horrified to absolutely furious. "You can't do that. That's fraud. That's hiding assets." "Actually, it's not," I said, pulling out documentation my brother had prepared. "Everything I did was completely legal. The house was my separate property. I had every right to sell it. The money I donated to the family trust was also my separate property from my inheritance. I didn't hide anything. I just reorganized my finances before filing for divorce." She was shaking with rage. "I'll fight this. I'll get a lawyer. I'll prove you were trying to cheat me." "You should absolutely get a lawyer," I agreed. "They'll tell you exactly what mine told me, that everything I did was perfectly legal and that your share of the remaining marital assets is approximately 50 cents. The next few hours were brutal. She called me every name in the book, threatened to destroy me, promised she'd find a way to reverse everything. But as the reality of the situation sank in, the fight went out of her. She'd been planning to leave me anyway. The PI had evidence of her looking at apartments with her boyfriend, but she'd been counting on a big financial payout to fund her new life. Instead, she was looking at starting over with basically nothing. Update 1. She moved out that weekend, and the divorce proceedings began. Her lawyer tried everything, claiming the asset transfers were fraudulent, arguing that the house should be considered marital property, demanding access to the family trust. But my brother had been thorough, and everything held up under scrutiny. The most satisfying moment came during mediation. Her lawyer had clearly explained the situation to her, because she came in looking defeated. When the mediator went through the asset division, her face was priceless. "So, Mrs. Hazel, you're entitled to 50% of the marital assets, which totals approximately $2 in remaining cash assets, meaning your share is $1. She just stared at the paperwork. $1. $1, the mediator confirmed. She looked at me across the table with pure hatred. "You planned this whole thing." "I planned to protect myself after discovering my wife was cheating on me," I replied. "Everything I did was legal and justified." The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. She got her $1, plus half of some minor assets we'd overlooked, about $50 total. I kept my retirement accounts, and my brother sold the house back to me for $1 plus the assumption of the remaining mortgage. Update 2. It's been 3 months since the divorce was finalized, and I'm still processing everything. My ex-wife moved in with her boyfriend, but apparently that relationship didn't last long. According to mutual friends, he wasn't interested in supporting someone who came with no financial resources and a lot of emotional baggage. She's had to move back in with her parents and start completely over. She's working the same job, but struggling financially because she'd gotten used to our dual-income lifestyle. I heard through the grapevine that she's been telling people I stole everything from her, but anyone who knows the full story understands that she brought this on herself. As for me, I'm doing better than I expected. The house feels different now, lighter somehow. I've been renovating, making it truly mine. I'm dating again, taking things slow, but I'm optimistic about the future. My brother and I are closer than ever. He refuses to let me pay him back for his legal help, saying that watching my ex-wife's face during mediation was payment enough. The family trust is doing well and has already made substantial donations to causes we care about. Update 3. The most unexpected development came last month. My ex-wife contacted me through a mutual friend, asking if we could meet for coffee. Against my better judgment, I agreed. She looked tired and older than I remembered. She apologized, genuinely, I think, for the affair and for how everything ended. She admitted she'd made terrible choices and that she understood why I'd protected myself financially. I know you probably hate me, she said, but I need you to know that I never meant for things to go this far. I was confused and stupid, and I threw away something good for something that meant nothing. I told her I didn't hate her, which surprised us both. I was angry for a long time, but mostly I just felt sad about how everything had played out. Do you regret it? She asked. What you did with the money in the house? I thought about it for a moment. No, I said finally. I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret protecting myself. She nodded and didn't ask for anything. No money, no help, no second chances. She just wanted to apologize and maybe find some closure. Looking back, I realized this whole experience taught me something important about trust, consequences, and self-protection. I'd always been the type of person who assumed the best in people, who trusted completely once I decided someone was worth trusting. My ex-wife's betrayal could have destroyed that part of me, but instead, it just made me more careful about who I give that trust to. The revenge aspect was satisfying in the moment, but what really matters is that I'm building a better life now. I'm more financially savvy, more emotionally aware, and more selective about relationships. I learned that sometimes the best way to handle betrayal isn't to get angry or try to hurt the other person back. It's to protect yourself and move forward. Would I do it all again the same way? Absolutely. My ex-wife made her choices, and I made mine. She chose to cheat and lie. I chose to be strategic and protect my future. In the end, we both got exactly what we deserved. The $1 settlement has become something of a legend among our mutual friends. Some people think I was too harsh, others think I was brilliant. I think I was just someone who refused to be taken advantage of when I discovered the person I trusted most had betrayed me. And honestly, that $1 was worth every penny.